welcome to or welcome back to a new video. So today I have an exciting video because this is one of my favorite times of the year. It is my spring TBR. I love spring as a season because it's lighter for longer, it starts to get warmer, the blossoms are out, the tulips are out, and everything is just colourful and pretty and vibrant and alive, and I love it. So I am very, very excited to put together a seasonal TBR. I love making seasonal TBRs, but I don't always stick to them, so we shall see. But I have a selection of books here that I just feel like for some reason I want to read this spring. Now that's not to say that these are spring themed or set during spring. They're just books that at the moment I'm kind of gravitating towards, and I just for some reason want to read them during this season. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Go and grab yourself your favorite drink, get yourself a matcha, a coffee, a tea, whatever it is you would like, and get ready to hear me talk about all of the books that I want to read this spring that I am just so excited for. So the first book we have is actually an ARC that I was very, very kindly sent, and I am so excited to read. Now, the reason that this one is on my TBR is because it publishes in May, so of course I want to read it before it publishes. It's a romantasy with dragons, and I already feel like that's probably reeled a few of you in. So let me tell you a bit more about it just to really sell you on this book. I cannot wait to read it, and that is A Fate Forged in Fire by Hazel McBride. I can't believe I have this in my hands. Like seriously, thank you so much Renegade Books for sending me a copy of this, because like I feel like I'm gonna love it. I love fantasy books with dragons. I love romantasy books with dragons. Something about dragons as a mythical creature is always just so entertaining, and I always feel like dragons just amp up the stakes of any fantasy world or book. And I just cannot wait to dive into this one. So on the front it says born to rule, blessed by fire, broken by desire, and then on the back it says a fate forged in fire, what is she willing to sacrifice to claim her throne? Just those two little things already make me so excited for this book, but I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about it. So our main character, Amira, I think is how the name's pronounced, but I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, but she is a blacksmith and she actually has fire magic. She's extremely powerful and blessed, and in this kingdom where she lives, the kind of rulers of it are very, very corrupt. There hasn't been a female heir for centuries. There's been a long line of corrupt kings and they're very anti-magic. So obviously already we have that kind of fun trope where she has magic she shouldn't. So almost like it's forbidden. And essentially she's going to have to use her fire magic to become like this kingdom's first queen, get rid of the corruption. But she has a dragon riding adversary who she's trying not to fall for. So this is going to be a duology, and it's also inspired by Celtic mythology, and I just love that immediately. Books that are inspired loosely on some form of mythology always just have such strong world building for me. Like I love when we have something like that to build around. It's just always really fun seeing authors' interpretation of like different mythologies. So I am so excited for this one because I don't know the exact tropes for this. I need to figure out, because I don't know if it's like enemies to lovers or not. But obviously it's kind of got that thing where she's fallen for someone she shouldn't, she's trying to resist them. But then we also have the plot of her obviously trying to overthrow this corrupt kingdom. So I am so, so excited, and the prospect of fire magic just sounds so fun, and I'm excited to see how the dragons play into this. So I will link this book down below if you guys were interested in it. It does come out in May. I'm very excited to read it. When I do read it, I'm going to be filming it as part of a reading vlog, so I will tell you guys all my thoughts, my review and everything like that. But this one, just cannot wait for. Okay, next is a book that has been on quite a lot of TBRs of mine, and I originally just started reading this I think around this time last year, or maybe just after March last year. So I read a book by this author during March last year when it was my birthday, and I loved it, and I immediately went out and bought every single one of this author's backlist books on my actual birthday, and I've been meaning to read them since and just haven't. And I did start this one briefly, but then I went in a slump, so I literally only got 24 pages into it before I was like, nope, I'm not in the mood to read right now. So that is Anne Liang's I Hope This Doesn't Find You. This has been compared to All the Boys I Loved Before, but if our main character in that book had sent hate mail instead of love letters. So I'm very, very excited to read this. On the back it says it's an enemies to lovers romance you can't have fallen head over heels for. And essentially, I think we have Sadie, and I can't remember what her love interest is called. So his name is Julius. They're kind of like academic rivals. Unbeknownst to her, I think he's always had a thing for her, but she accidentally sends him like loads of hate emails that she never meant to send. But he's like obsessed with her, like he obsessed, and he reads every single one. And yeah, it's kind of about their rivalry to romance. And yeah, I've just heard this is so, so good, and I read This Time It's Real by this author, and I absolutely love that book so much. So I feel like I'm going to love this one just as much. And I've been putting it off for ages, but I feel like now is finally the time. So I'm going to put it on my spring TBR. Let's hope I finally do read it this spring. It would be nice to probably read this during March, because then it's like a tradition of maybe reading one of this author's books every single March. But I do now have another 2 books by this author that I also need to read that are on my shelves, so I want to take this one off first. And I don't know, I just feel like I'm going to be obsessed with this book when I read it, and I'm probably never going to shut up about it when I do. Next we have another romance, which is Happily Ever After by Lynn Painter. Now, I don't know too much about this one. The main reason I bought this book is because it's by Lynn Painter, and every book I've read by her I have adored. They're just such fluffy, fun, rom-com-y vibes. They're like early 2000s rom-com movie vibes, but in book form. Like, that's the feeling they give me. Like, Better Than the Movies is one of the best romance books I've ever read, especially for a YA. And I've also read The Love Wager, which I read in like, I think a day or a day and a half. Like, I just could not put it down. And I just always find her books just so fun and fluffy, and I feel like that's what I need in spring. And I'm kind of gravitating towards romance at the moment, so I had to pop this one on my TBR. So essentially we're following this girl called Sophie who's about to get married, but right before she's due to get married, she finds out that her fiance has actually cheated on her. So she hires this guy called Max to interrupt the ceremony rather than just like straight up cancelling it. And it's kind of like her way of getting revenge on her cheating fiance. And then I would assume that her and Max form some kind of relationship after, and a romance ensues. I don't know. I don't want to read too much into the synopsis for this one. I really just want to go into it and have a fun time. And like I said, I just always really enjoy this author's books. So I'm very, very excited to finally read this one. If you have read it, please do let me know your thoughts. But better yet, if you've read all of Lynn Painter's books, which one was your favourite? Because I slowly want to make my way through all of her books, and I have most of them on my shelf. But this is the one I think I'm going to pick up next. And I can't wait. Next we have another romance. Now, I'm not going to lie, a lot of the books in this stack are romance, but this one, I don't know if it's set during spring. I know one of the books in this kind of like series, I think is set during spring, but I don't know which one. Now this one to me had the most spring looking vibes, because this is like part of a special edition set. And I don't know, I just want to read one of this author's books. I actually have 2 of this author's books on my TBR, but I really want to read one from this little like series, and I just thought this one looked the most spring-like, so I figured let's pop this on the TBR, and that is In the Weeds by B.K. Borison. Now, if this isn't the spring one, let me know. If you've read all the books that are in this like series, because I think there's 4 of them. There's Love Light Farms, there's In the Weeds, and there's Mixed Signals and Business Casual. So if any of them are set during spring, please do let me know in the comments which one it is. I'm hoping it's this one. If it isn't, I still will read this. Now, I don't know anything about this book at all. I just know this follows a social media influencer and a grumpy farmer, and they have some kind of romance. That's literally all I know. I don't want to know anymore, honestly. I feel like I just want to go into this not knowing much and have a really fun time. I've heard so many good things about these books and this author's writing. And I bought these special editions from Afterlight, I think last year. And they're so cute, and they've been sat on my shelf for ages, and I've just been meaning to pick them up. I don't think you have to read these books in any kind of order, and I'm just gonna read this one first. But I am so excited, and I just feel like this, I mean, it's probably giving more summer than spring, but I also feel like it looks like a nice spring day. So I'm gonna call it spring. Maybe this is set in autumn for all I know. I mean, I hope not, but I'm gonna go with this one and hopefully really, really enjoy it. And then following on from that, the other book by this author that I have on my TBR is First Time Caller. Another stunning Afterlight edition. Look at this edition. It is so cute. It has gorgeous end paper art, and it has this stunning design under the hardback. And the main reason I put this on my spring TBR is because I feel like the colour scheme is giving spring. The pastels, the pink, and also just because I recently got this and I've been seeing it everywhere. Like all over Bookstagram, all over BookTok, everyone is loving this book, and I've got FOMO. And now I'm just like, I want to read it. I want to know what the hype is about. So I figured why not just pop this one on my TBR for spring as well. If I don't read it during spring, I would love to get to it during summer. But hopefully I do pick this up pretty soon. So I'm going to read the little like synopsis thingy because I don't actually know what this is about. Shock, I know. But it says here, Aidan Valentine has a secret. He's fallen out of love with love, which, as the host of Baltimore's romance hotline Heartstrings, is a bit of a problem. When a young girl calls into the station asking for dating advice for her mother, the interview suddenly goes viral, thrusting Aidan and Heartstrings into the limelight. Lucy Stone thought she was doing just fine, but with all of Baltimore scrutinising her love life or lack thereof, she begins to question whether she's as happy as she thought. Maybe a little more romance wouldn't be such a bad thing. Everyone wants Lucy to find her happy ending, even with the handsome, temperamental man calling the shots. But as sparks start to fly behind the scenes, Lucy must make the final call between a radio-sponsored Happily Ever After or the man in the headphones next to her. So yes, I feel like this is going to be so fun. It's like a workplace romance, and I don't know, I have such a good feeling about it, and I love this edition so much. So I'm hoping to read both of these during spring, but at least one of them. So probably more so this one is the one I'm most excited for. And yeah, I'm just obsessed with this edition. Okay, so we have 2 more romance books, and then I have fantasy books. So this next one is a super random one. Again, not spring themed, although the edges are giving spring. But I'm putting this on my TBR because I want to start making progress on like series that I'm in the middle of, because I have such a bad habit of reading the first book and then not reading the rest. And even if I love it, I still do that. Like, I hardly ever finish series. And this is a romance series. You can read these as standalones as well. But I really would love to start chipping away at these like romance series that I have, where there's like 4 or 5 books in the series. And I read the first book of this, I think, 2 years ago, and that is the Twisted series by Anna Huang. So this one is Twisted Games, and this one has a bodyguard romance. Now this is what I mean by giving spring. I mean, it has a tulip on it. You don't get more spring than that. I don't remember the full synopsis for this. I just know it's between Bridget and I think his name's Reese, and he's her bodyguard, and they have some kind of romance. That's all I know. That's all I need to know. Bodyguard romance, I am sold. I love that dynamic. I think it's so fun, and I've heard so many good things about this one. When I read Twisted Love at the time, I really enjoyed it because I read it in like one sitting. It was addictive, it was fun, but it also wasn't great. I think I did give it 4 stars at the time, but now I feel like it's more of a 3. Like, I just didn't love the love interest in that book. I don't know, like, it was just a little bit outlandish. Whereas this one, I feel like I'm going to love a lot more. And a lot of people say this one is so much better than the first book. So I'm very excited, and I just really want to read at least this book this year. If I could read all 4 books, great. But realistically, I'm probably not going to do that because there are so many books I want to read. So I'm hoping to just take at least one off, and obviously this is the next one in the series, and this is actually the one I'm most excited about because of the bodyguard trope. So very, very excited for this one. And then the last romance one I have is actually a new one I recently got, and that is A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. This one I am very excited for because this is like romance, but it's not like a normal romance. It has a fantastical element to it. And essentially our main character, whose name I've forgotten, so her name is Eileen, she is a book girly. She loves books. She goes on this like bookish retreat every year. Her car breaks down in this cute little town, and like it's like the perfect bookish place, and she's like, this is too good to be true. And then she realizes she's actually in like the fictional town of her favorite like romance series, and we have a grumpy bookshop owner. So yeah, this sounds so fun. I've never read anything by this author, but I've heard so many good things about this author's writing. I've heard that they're not your average kind of romance books. They have a lot of more kind of layers to them. They tackle things like grief and things like that. And I just like the idea of this fantastical element, and the fact that this is just going to be so inherently bookish, a bookish setting. The love interest is bookish because he's the manager of a bookstore, and then we also have our main character who is a book girly to her core. So you don't get more bookish in this book, and I love books that are about books. So I'm very, very excited to read this one. Plus this Fairy Loot edition is absolutely stunning, and I feel like with the little daisies and stuff and just the colour scheme, it is totally giving spring. So I cannot wait to dive into this one. It will be my first Ashley Poston, and hopefully motivate me to read the other 2 books by this author that I have on my shelf. Okay, and then we have 3 fantasy books which I am equally excited about. So the first one is The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith. So this one I've seen compared to The Cruel Prince and Bridgerton and The Selection. Now I haven't read The Selection or Bridgerton. I have watched the first season of Bridgerton, and I've read The Cruel Prince like twice, so I'm familiar with those, but that is kind of like the vibes of this book. I believe there's some kind of like trials or competition. Our main character's family is kind of in scandal at the moment, and they don't come from the most affluent family, the most rich family, and she enters into like this competition or trial or something out in the season to try and win the prince's hand. So we have a fey queen who's not very nice, the fey son who's a prince, and then there's another prince who's his half brother who's human. So I don't know if there's a love triangle in here or what, but that's kind of all I know about this. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I own 2 copies because I also have the Fairy Loot edition. This is the Waterstones exclusive edition, but I don't think you can get more spring than this. And like I said, anything with that kind of like Bridgerton-esque like aesthetic just speaks spring summer to me. And I don't know, I just really feel like this is a spring book. And not just that, this is also my Patreon book club pick for the months of March and April. So obviously I'm going to be reading it during those 2 months. I'll be filming a vlog for this which will go up on my Patreon. So if you did want to join us, you can join in at any time. We have a Discord to talk about the book. and you can head to my Patreon to find out more. I just feel like this is going to be a really fun and whimsical, entertaining tale. And I recently saw Alexa Ray read this in one of her vlogs, and I think she read it in like a day, and she said it's one of the best fantasy books she's read ever, and it deserves way more hype. So that has made me instantly excited for this book. So yeah, I cannot wait to read it. If you have read it, please let me know your thoughts. But then moving on, we have another arc, which is The Night in the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This comes out in May as well, so this is the main reason this is on my TBR for spring, because obviously I want to read it before May. And I'd say usually this is a book I'd read more so in the autumn because it's gothic fantasy. I believe this is adult, and it has romantasy vibes, but it is not a romantasy. I think there's been some confusion as to whether or not this is romantasy. Now, Goodreads has it as romantasy, but if you go on nearly any straight up fantasy book that has romance, it's going to be listed as romantasy on there, but it's not necessarily romantasy. This is a fantasy book with a romance plot. It's not like strictly about the romance in the fantasy world. Like, there's other fantasy elements in this book that will be just as important as the romance, if that makes sense. So it's not strictly a romantasy, but it has like romantasy vibes. So this is like a gothic romance fantasy, and we follow Sybil, who is a diviner. She has traded a decade of service for a home in the Great Cathedral. She has these dreams, and in those dreams she has visions from 6 unearthly figures known as omens. So from them she can predict like terrible things before they happen, and lords and common folk alike travel across the kingdom of windswept moors to learn their futures by her dreams. Just as she and her sister diviners near the end of their service, a mysterious knight arrives at the cathedral. Rude, heretical, I can never say that word, and handsome, the knight Roderick has no respect for Sybil's visions. But when Sybil's fellow diviners begin to vanish one by one, she has no choice but to seek his help in finding them. For the world outside the cathedral's cloister is wrought with peril. Only the gods have the answers she is seeking, and as much as she'd rather avoid Roderick's dark eyes and sharp tongue, only a heretic can defeat a god. So I love the sound of this because we do have that mystery element where obviously her fellow sisters are going missing, and we don't know why, we don't know by who. There's a kind of reluctant allies kind of happening there, a bit of a romance with them. And we also just have a really unique kind of magic system with the omens, the diviners, and her having these dreams and like prophecies. So this is going to be such a fun story. I cannot wait to read this. I really enjoyed One Dark Window, and I feel like Rachel Gillig does such a good job of crafting unique fantasy worlds with really interesting characters. So I cannot wait to read this, and I will be vlogging this when I do read it. So thank you so much to the publisher for sending me a copy of this. I'm just so excited about it, and yeah, it's going to be a really fun read. And then the last book on my TBR is a book I'm actually hoping to start today, or at least this week, and that is Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen. This is, I think, YA, I want to say, and this is basically Addie LaRue but make it YA, is what I've heard. Essentially, we're following our main character, Evelyn. She's lived thousands of different lives, and in every single one, just before she turns 18, she gets killed, and it's the same guy who's always hunting her, and she has no idea why. And she's determined this time around she's going to find out why she's always dying before she gets the chance to turn 18, and why it's this specific person who's always hunting her in every life. But the plot twist is she always falls in love with this person every single lifetime, so she's going to try not to do that this time. Finally put an end to this and figure out what the hell's been going on. So I love the sound of this. It's definitely giving Addie LaRue vibes, and I love that book when I read it for the first time. And I've just heard so many good things about this. It sounds so unique. I cannot wait to dive into it. I'm pretty sure I have read a book by this author before. I'll pop up on the screen here if it was in fact by this author. And I did enjoy it, but it's very different to this. So this one I think is just going to be a very entertaining story. And I've just heard the writing is incredible. And I don't know, I'm just really gravitating towards reading this one right now. So of course I want to pop it on my spring TBR. And I do feel like we can get away with, you know, the colour scheme being spring. So that is the final book on my spring TBR. I cannot wait to dive into all of these books. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books I have mentioned in this video. Let me know your thoughts, what you rated them. If you yourself have any spring book recommendations, do leave them in the comments, whether they're set in spring, they just give spring vibes. Also let me know what's on your spring TBR, because I just think it's so fun to see what is on people's TBRs, especially when they're seasonal. So do let me know down below in the comments. I will try to link all of these books down below if you guys want to check them out. And I will also have links to my Patreon if you want to join our book club to read The Rose Bargain. There's lots of other things on there. There's early access, there's exclusive videos, exclusive vlogs, and lots more other things. I'll also leave the links to all my socials down below as well. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you're safe and well. I hope you're reading a lot of good books, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!